Hey Kirk. Now I'm gonna do deck tech. This is Jund midrange. It was made by a legend. Um, I haven't actually changed any cards of it at all. This is exactly his build. I haven't found a need to. I think that it's perfect. Just because, um, just because I think you're the only one that's gonna watch this. I don't even see any need of citing my sources and giving credit to the person who made it. But I will say that it wasn't made by me. It was made by Legend. I'm going to take as much time as it takes to go over this deck and explain it because I think that's what it deserves. Unlike the other one where I just wanted to do it real quick, this one I'm going to take time. Also, just for the future in my videos, if I'm talking quiet or whatever, it's probably because Frank is sleeping. So right now, for example, I'm trying to stay quiet because Frank's going to sleep. But anyway, so down here at the bottom right, you can see the curve or the distribution of drops. Generally, you want to see a bell curve, kind of like how you see from 1 to 4, where it goes up and then goes down. Generally, you want to see like a few 1 drops, a little more 2 drops, and then max out on the 3 drops. And then it just drops down from there. So the 4 drops are less than the 3, and the 5 drops are less than the 4. You want kind of a bell curve. But this one has a curve like that, probably because it doesn't really need 4 drops. This deck would do fine with 0 4 drops. The only 4 drop is this guy, and it's just because he's good. But it's because what we want to do is we want to ramp. This deck ramps. It gets lands out really early. So on turn 3, what you want to do is ramp. And then on your next turn, your turn 4, you have 5 lands. So you just drop your 5 drops. So, or you ramp again, and then you get to your big bombs. So this deck's not too hard to play, but it's definitely a lot more interesting than the last one I displayed. This one actually takes a little bit of thinking. I was thinking I'm gonna progressively move up in like difficulty of decks being played so that I have more commentary experience. So when I'm playing the decks that are more challenging to play, um, the fact that I have to commentate won't be as much of a hindrance on my thinking. So this one is relatively easy to play. You do have to think sometimes, but you generally just ramp and then drop a bunch of bombs. So let's start talking about the cards. So this is a black, red, and green, mainly green. So let's start with our 1 drop. Well, our 1 drop technically is Banefire, but you never play this as a 1 drop ever. Usually this is actually the finisher. This is actually probably the last card you want to play. You want to play this for like 10 lands, and because we're ramping, we have a lot of extra lands in play, so we can finish the game out with this. Early on in the game, it's not very good. You can use it as a kill spell if you need to, but for the most part, you just want to end the game with it. So it's kind of not really a 1 drop. 2 drops, 2 drops. Walking you up the curve. So 2 drops, we have Elvish Visionary, which doesn't really go with the theme of the deck, but we need it to stay alive. In the early game, if someone tries to rush us, we can chump block with this and save some damage, or we could trade with a token. Also, it draws a card, so it replaces itself, so it gets us through our deck faster, gets us to our ramp or whatever we need. So yeah, this guy is just in there to do something on turn 2 and keep us alive, so we don't lose to the fast decks. Here's another 2 drop. This one helps us fix our land because we are playing a 3-color deck, so we do need some mana fixing. We also have a lot of 3 costing cards. You know, we have red, green. We got black, green. Wait a minute. I don't think this is the right deck. This is not even the right deck. Wow. Okay. This is the right deck. The other one was another one I was messing around with. Wow. This one is almost identical to that last one. So pretty much everything I said applies. Sorry about that. This deck is, yeah, like I said, it's almost identical. It's just a little bit different. But this is the one I actually wanted to display. The other one was something that I've just been messing around with lately, trying to improve this one, but I doubt I'm going to be able to do it. Anyway, so as you can see, the curve on this one is better. Goes 3, 7, 10, and then drops down to 3. But again, those 4 drops, we don't really need those because we want to ramp to 5. So, yeah, this one actually has a nicer curve down there in the bottom right. Yeah, so again, our 1 drops, we have Banefire, which I already explained. Shock is the 1 drop that we have in this deck. We only have 2 of them, and it's just to make sure we don't lose really quickly. The 2 damage to their face usually isn't very relevant. So yeah, but there is a lot of creatures in the format that have 2 power that you want to get rid of. For example, this guy. I mean, I can go on forever about creatures with 2 power that are important to kill in the format. I mean, you're going to naturally see them as I play, so I don't really need to do what I'm doing right now, but let me just display it. Like, here's another one. You want to get that out of the way. I'll show you a few more. For example, like Goblin Rabblemaster that I showed in the other deck, the last deck we played. That's another one. This guy is nice. I don't know. This guy is nice to be able to kill. So yeah, there's lots of things that you want to hit for 2. So, but yeah. So on to our 2 drops. We have Elvish Visionary, which I already explained. We have 4 of those, and then we have 3 more 2 drops. What are they? Oh, it's just Ground Assault, which is a kill spell. We need it just as removal if they get something strong out there. Also, it's very cheap for what it can do. I mean, this can take out a 10 power or 10 toughness creature late in the game for just 2 mana. That's just insane. And having a bunch of lands is not a problem because this is a ramp deck, so we're always going to have a bunch of lands. So onto the 3 drops, we have Anger the Gods, which we're going to need so that we don't lose very quickly to fast decks. Sometimes we might lose if we don't draw this card. This is one of those cards that's just necessary if you're not running a fast deck. It just cleans the field. Basically, you can essentially, if someone overextends, you could just win the game by playing this card. I mean, if you get a 5-for-1 with this card, the game's pretty much yours. But also, even if it's not very good in the matchup, if they're not playing a bunch of weenies, you could play this and then this and kill like a 5 toughness creature, or you could play this and kill a 6 toughness creature. There's a bunch of different things you can do with this. But yeah, it's definitely necessary in the deck. Another 3 drop is Resounding Thunder, which is not that great. We have 2 of them in the deck. 3 damage for 3 mana, instant speed at least. So you could play it at any time, but it's not that great of a card. But the main thing about this card is the cycling. So it costs 8 to cycle, which isn't a problem because we always get a lot of mana in this deck, and it's black, red, and green, which happen to be our colors. So what cycling does is normally it doesn't cost very much, and you just throw it in the graveyard, pay the cycling cost, draw a card, so it thins out the deck. But this card has a special effect where you cycle it, and it does 6 damage for 8 mana. And what's even crazier about that is because it's cycling, you never casted the card, so it can't be countered. So basically, you could swing in, do a bunch of damage to them, bring them down to 5 life, cycle this, and just kill them, and they can't counter it or anything. It's really good. You do 6 damage and you draw a card. Keep in mind, you draw the card too. They can't counter it. You draw a card. The only drawback, I guess, is that it costs so much mana, but that's not really a problem with this deck. What you can do a lot of times is just 6 damage to their face, and then next turn just Banefire. Or maybe you do 6 damage to their face, and then you draw the Banefire, and then you just fucking kill them with it. So yeah, this card, the cycling, is mainly what we want to do with it. But being able to cast it for 3 to remove a creature so that we don't lose the game is also important. So let's see. We have some more 3-drops. Cultivate is we have 4 of them in the deck. This is our main ramp spell. We pretty much want to see this every game. We don't want to see too many of them because we only need like 1 or 2. We definitely don't need 3. So it starts becoming a dead draw if we draw 3 or 4 of them. But we definitely want to see at least 1 every game. This is definitely our best ramp spell. Another 3-drop is our other ramp spell, which is this one, which is it's okay. It's in here because we don't really have any better options for ramp, but this is definitely better. This is our go-to, but this is in there just because there's nothing better, and we need more ramp. So yeah, that's it for the 3-drops. Move on to the 4-drops, which again, we don't have very many because on turn 3 we want to play this or this and ramp up, and then the next turn we start playing our 5-drops. So the 4-drops aren't very important. So we have 3 of them. 2 of them are this guy, which is just, this guy's in here just because he's good. We need card draw in this deck. I don't think we have any other card draw. This card draw, but it's more of replacing itself. It's not really. Here's more card draw. But yeah, this deck needs card draw, and this is part of it. Losing life isn't too relevant because Plague gains us life. Also, this is the only card in the deck besides Elvish Visionary, and I guess this guy, but this guy's just kind of, I'll talk about him later, that gets hit by Anger of the Gods. Everything else in the deck does not get killed by Anger of the Gods. This guy does, which is relevant because sometimes you just want to draw a few cards with this guy, and his effect can kill you because you lose life. So sometimes you want to Anger of the Gods, clear up their side, and kill your own guy, which you need to do because you don't want to lose. Also, there's no other zombies in the deck, I don't think. Pretty sure there's no other zombies in the deck, so this is just going to draw you an extra card every turn at the cost of 1 life. Unless you have 2 of these out, then it kind of goes crazy really quick because you start losing 2 life per turn. No, you start losing 4 life per turn, I believe, and then you draw 4 cards, which is insane. But that'll kill you pretty quick. But yeah, this guy's in here just for the card draw. And if they kill it, the thing about this guy and the other guy that I'm going to talk about that are card draw, so it either draws you cards, so it makes it so you're never out of gas, or they kill it, which means they waste their removal on it, which allows us to drop our bombs. The main thing about this deck is it ramps up and then it ramps up with Cultivate, and Ingot. It stays alive with the Elvish Visionaries, the Resounding Thunders, the Anger of the Gods, the Shock, and needs those to stay alive. And then it ramps up on turn 3, and then it plays bombs for the rest of the game. So if they kill this, that's fine because that just means they have 1 less removal spell to kill your bombs that you want to drop later on. And if they don't kill it, then you just draw a bunch of cards and overwhelm them anyway. So yeah, that's why she's in the deck. She's very important. And also, occasionally we don't have the ramp spell, so we just want to play her on turn 4. But usually we want to have the ramp spell and play something like this or this. Okay, so what's the other 4-drop? I don't even know. Oh, it's this guy. This guy is not really a 4-drop. He's actually usually a 6-drop. He's pretty much just in the deck just to if someone has a card that is just out of control and we can't deal with it, like this, for example, this card's really good and it can get out of control. So we only have one of these in the deck, but you can kill it, you can destroy it with this, and you get a 3-power creature. 3 power is nice because it activates this guy, which I'll explain later. But yeah, he's not really a 4-drop. He's more of a 6-drop. He's in there to destroy permanents. And we have one of them. And if we need to get it, we can use Runescar Demon to tutor it up. But yeah, like I said, this guy's mostly a 6-drop, not really a 4-drop. Okay, on to the 5-drops. We have this guy, which is absolutely insane. I mean, people always complain about cards being imbalanced, but I feel like they never actually complain about the cards that really are maybe imbalanced. This guy is just insane. You drop him turn. Well, he's a 5-drop, but we can drop him turn 4 because we have so much ramp. So usually we can drop this guy turn 4. There's only one in the deck because we only have one in the format. But 5-drop, you drop him turn. You can drop him turn 4. If they're playing like a mono white deck, I mean, they can't deal with this guy. You pretty much win. Even if they're not playing, if they have white in their deck, there's just so many removal spells that can't deal with him. Like, for example, this guy right here, Reprisal, destroy target creature with 4 power or greater. That cannot be casted on him. So if your opponent's playing white and they have this in their hand, they can't use it against him. So he's flying, so he has evasion, and you drop him and you just hit him for 4. And the monstrosity is a bit weird because it can kind of screw you over because it costs 7 mana, which can waste your turn, and then they can like kill it in response to you paying for it, or they can like return it to your hand, and then the ability doesn't go off, which makes them lose life. But if they're tapped out or something, or if you don't have anything better to do, you just pay 7 mana and make this guy 7/7, and you can just this guy can just win the game for you by himself pretty much sometimes. If went unanswered, for example, if your opponent has a bunch of cards in their hand, you play this and attack him for 4, and then the next turn you pay his monstrosity cost. And let's say they got like 5 cards in their hand, that's another 5 damage, plus this guy turns into a 7/7. So that's just 7 plus 4 plus 5 damage. I mean, they're basically dead. So this guy's insane, but we only have one of them. We have 5 more 5-drops in the deck, and they're right here. So let's talk about this guy first. This guy's a 5-drop. This is kind of the go-to card that you want to play on turn 5 besides Stormbreath Dragon, but he's only one of, so can't count on that. But you want to play this guy in turn 5. So you want to play a ramp spell turn 3, and then turn 4 you drop this. 4/4, so he's pretty beefy, but he's a card draw engine. So this deck wants to drop a lot of bombs. So this guy kind of has the same role as Graveborn Muse, where he's going to draw you extra cards. And it's kind of the same thing where if they kill this, then fine. That gives you more room to drop your more devastating cards. They have less removal. And if they don't kill him, and then you can just drop stuff because almost everything in the deck triggers him. 4 power, 6 power, 6 power, 3 power. So like everything in the deck triggers him and makes you draw a card. So yeah, he pretty much plays the same role as Graveborn Muse, except he's a 5-drop, which is not a problem because we can play him on turn 4. And yeah, he's stronger than Graveborn Muse. The next 5-drop, our other 5-drop is Arbor Colossus. He's got a strict 3 green mana cost, but that's fine. We have so much ramp and stuff. We have no problem getting to that on turn 5. He has reach, which means that he can block flying creatures, which is necessary because I think this deck might have a hard time with that sometimes. So the reach is relevant. He's a 6/6 body for 5 mana, so that's very cost efficient. And he has a monstrosity ability which kills flyers, which isn't too relevant, doesn't come up too much, but when it does, it's very good. So yeah, it's just a 6/6 body, just a big guy. So that's it for the 5 drops, and now on to our bombs. So we have 7 big creatures in this deck, 6+ drops. Normally, you don't really want to see something like that. Like you don't really want your curve to top out like that. But because this is a ramp deck, we're gonna get to a lot of mana, so we're gonna be playing our big beefy creatures. So let's go look at them. Sheoldred costs 7. By the way, the black is pretty much in this deck. I mean, we only have these 3 black cards, or these 5 rather, and these are worth it to be running black. So anyway, Sheoldred is insane. If she is left unanswered, she just wins you the game. Pretty much all these cards, all these 6+ drops, they can win you the game on their own. But this one is just absolutely insane. Costs 7, and then your opponent has to sacrifice a creature every turn. So as long as they don't kill her right when she comes out, you can get value out of her, even if they kill her on the following turn, because they have to sacrifice a creature. So yeah, that's definitely huge. And then also at the beginning of so basically you play her, and then you say go, and if they don't kill her, then they have to sacrifice a creature. And then if they don't kill her on their turn, which they should, because she's going to get out of control, then you return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, which is absolutely insane. I mean, you can return this guy, get a 6/6 flying body into play, and tutor up a card. You can you return any of our bombs, gain 7 life, and they stay on the field. So it's not like they go away. So a lot of times you want to play out all your other bombs first, and then you want to drop her last. And if they don't have any removal for her, like let's say they wasted all their removal on all your other cards, and then they don't have any left, and you drop Sheoldred, then you start getting all your bombs back. All their bombs that they wasted their removal on, you start getting them back. Yeah, so she just gets out of control. And she has Swamp Walk, which, I mean, I don't know, doesn't really come up too often, but when it does, it's good. Swamp Walk basically means if they have a swamp in play, she can't be blocked. Our other 7-drop is Runescarred Demon. It's just a tutor and a 6/6 body, costs 7, just like Sheoldred. If you play him and you don't know what to get, usually you just go get the other Runescarred Demon. So you go, because we have 2 of them. So you go Runescarred Demon, and then you go tutor up the other Runescarred Demon, and then you play the second Runescarred Demon, and then you go tutor up anything like a Sheoldred or maybe a Banefire to finish the game. So yeah, Runescarred Demon is definitely good. Sometimes the Runescarred Demon and the Runescarred Demon play is not very good because sometimes it's slow and you need to get something. So sometimes you'll go Runescarred Demon and then pick up this or something like that, because if you don't pick up this, then you're just going to lose the game because they went wide and you need to sweep the field, or maybe you want to get him, or maybe you need to gain some life real quick. So yeah, that's Runescarred Demon. This, I know it's a 1-drop, but usually you want to play it for like 10 or 8 or something, do a lot of damage. So I'm gonna count this as one of our big bombs. This, like I said, is a 8-drop really, or it can be an 8-drop, and you do damage with it. Infernal Titan is very strong. I don't know if it's the best card. I mean, it's definitely a really good card, but to the format that we're playing in, I don't think it's as good as it is in other formats, but definitely very solid. You play it, and you immediately get an effect out of him. He does 3 damage distributed however you want. This guy can win the game really quick if they don't have any blockers for him, because he has got that fire breathing ability where you pay as much red as you want and make him as big as you want in the front. So, and he does 3 damage. So yeah, this guy can just win the game. He only costs 6. You need 2 red for him. I think he's only 2. Oh, Stormbreath Dragon. But yeah, I mean, this guy definitely deserves a place in his deck. And the last card is Pelakka Wurm. Pelakka Wurm, I think, is literally one of the best cards in the format. It just does so much. It costs 7, which is a lot, but it's a 7/7 body, and it tramples. You should know what that does by now. And it gains 7 life. So it just does so much. I mean, you could be losing the game. You drop Pelakka Wurm, you gain 7 life, and you have this big body, and you just start going to town. It just stabilizes the game for you. By stabilize, I mean, you might be losing the game, but you play this, you gain that 7 life, which is just enough you need. 7 life is definitely relevant. So you get out of like death range from them, and then even if they killed it, which they need to kill it, because if they don't kill it, it just owns them because it attacks every turn for 7. So you can't take 7 damage every turn, and even if they block it, it has trample. So it's something that you need to deal with. And then when you deal with it, then I just draw a card. So yeah, this guy is very, very, very good in the format, especially because there's not very much exile. And by exile, I mean there's cards that I'll show you an example. Like this card, for example. Where is it? This card, it exiles. So if you cast this on this, it exiles it from the game, which means it doesn't die, which means I don't draw a card. So this is a good answer to Pelakka Wurm. But there's not very many cards like this, and also this card's not very good because it costs 5. It costs so much, so a lot of people don't run it. So yeah, you pretty much always get to draw a card. Usually people cast, like what I was showing you earlier, cast Reprisal on it or something like that. Or they cast Ground Assault on it, kill it, and then I draw a card. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck. That look down at the bottom: 20 creatures, 16 spells, 24 lands. Got that 24, just like I was telling you. A lot of decks run 24, but really it has more than 24 lands because this is kind of like a land. It goes and fetches out lands, so it takes lands out of your deck, so you have a less likelihood of drawing more lands in the future. But it also, it does a lot. And then this is also pretty much a land as well. So it has 24 lands, but really it has a little more than that. The curve is nice. What this deck wants to do is pretty much just survive the early game and then just ramp out and beat them. Let's look at the lands. Again, I didn't make this deck, so didn't make any of this. So clearly we're going to be running the Savage Lands, which is red, green, and black, because those are our colors: red, green, and black. So clearly we're going to be running all of the Savage Lands. 2 swamps, 4 mountain, and 7 forests. The 2 swamps are just because if we don't have any swamps and we have a cultivate, and maybe we have this in our hand, or any of these really, because all these cost double black, you can cultivate to get both of the just 2 swamps, and then you could play these guys. So that's why it has 2 swamps. 4 mountains, 7 forests, 7 forests because that's our main color. 4 basic mountains. I don't know, this deck, maybe it needs less. Maybe we could take it. Maybe that's one improvement I can make to the deck, that maybe could use more basics and less tap lands. But I don't know. Haven't really found a problem actually, so it might not be a problem. How many tap lands do we have? 6, 8, 10, 11. Yeah, maybe we can get rid of a few. But Yeah, the advantage with tap lands obviously is you get a bunch of sources in one card. Disadvantage is they enter the battlefield tapped, so it slows you down. But actually, yeah, I haven't really found much of a problem with these tap lands in this particular build. Um, so yeah, we run the Savage Lands, and then all these other ones. Um, so like this one has blue in it, which is completely irrelevant, but I'm just running it instead of black blue. So I'm running it instead of, where is it? Black. This, for example. Oh no, black red. Black red is what I'm looking for. Black red. Yeah, I'm running it instead of this. So for example, I have like two of these in here instead of this, just because this has the blue on it to maybe confuse the opponent. There's really no reason to run this instead of this. Like this, having the white on there is completely irrelevant, but red, green. So this is just a red, green. So it's just like running one of these. So, but it's got the white in there just to trick the opponent. Same thing with this. This is green, red, and black, green. So yeah, that's the mono base. It's pretty much all there is to say about the deck. So yeah, what it does is, again, it just tries to stay alive, tries to stay alive, tries to stay alive. Blocker, draws a card, ramp, ramp, kill spells if we need it. And then we start playing these guys. This guy, maybe her, and then start playing more lands, and then we start playing our bombs. Start playing our bombs and closing out the game. So this deck does. It's probably one of the better decks that I have. I'd say this is probably the second best deck that I have. Although I think right now, because the metagame is so slow, that Goblin deck is probably one of the best decks right now. But I don't really want to focus on that thing too much because it's pretty boring to play and probably to watch too. So I'm looking forward to playing this. Yeah, so again, this deck, it's more interesting than the last one, but it's relatively easy to play just because you drop bombs and win the game. You just ramp up, stay alive, ramp up, drop bombs, win the game, but it's definitely more interesting than the last deck I showed. So yeah, I will play another game on this soon. I don't think I'm going to make another one after this because I don't know how long this took, but I want to do something else right now. But I will make a follow-up to this as soon as I can with gameplay of this deck. Talk to you later. Peace.